So here it is. This is basically my vacuum former. It's started out with a refrigerator that I got off of Craigslist, off the free list. I took the compressor out of that. That's my vacuum pump. Also off the free list on Craigslist, I got an old air compressor that the pump was no good on, so I took the tank from that. Then, as you can see, this is the platen. It's designed so that it can use different size platens. This platen here is 1x2. It's a solid core door that I cut up into pieces. There are no holes. A lot of vacuum formers out there, they use a box with a bunch of little holes in it. This is actually a solid surface, just one hole in the center, and it has a rubber gasket around the outside edge to kind of act as a seal. You can see I got some pennies setting there. What I do with the pennies is I actually set my buck on top of that, and that'll allow the vacuum to draw underneath, kind of give a uniform area that it'll draw down to, and it actually works really well. Besides the 1x2, I have some others over here. That's a 1x1, a 2x2, and behind that is a 3x3, or I'm sorry, a 2x3, and that's the largest area that this particular former can draw. You'll see these two, I actually have a window screen over the surface, which is something that I got from the internet. I made the mistake of putting the screen underneath the gasket, which allows it to leak, so that was a bad idea. But I actually find that it actually works better with no screen at all, and just to have your buck spaced up slightly. Besides the vacuum pump, being that it came from a refrigerator, I should say, it has two sides. It has the vacuum side, which you can see that copper line that runs up to my control panel here, and then it has the pressure side, and I've got that run up to this little collector. So what else can I show you here? Up above, this is the frame that holds the plastic, and I'll show a better shot of that in a minute. Up above that is the oven, and also you can see these rails that hold the oven up are also the rails that the whole lifting mechanism kind of slides on. Alright, so the oven itself I made from three, they were these little countertop barbecues, and I got them at a thrift store for like $5 a piece, and I just took the heating element out, kind of bent it to better fit the space I had, and then just wired them in that way. And there's also a light you can see, and then from this angle you can see the frame that holds the plastic. Right now in that configuration there's two bars that go across that'll hold the plastic to match the platen that's in place. So the lifting mechanism is basically like I showed you this slide. I have these little pins on the side here that are a safety, because without them the whole works can get loose, can go over center and drop on you, and that's a bad thing to have it fall down to the deck. So basically, as you can see, it just slides up and down on those rails, and that allows me to once it's heated, drop it down into place. It's quick. You don't lose any heat. The only drawback is that I didn't, mount the platen permanent or whatnot. So you just have to be careful that you don't knock it off center, so that when you're lowering it down, it doesn't drop into place. But for the most part, that's only happened once, and I kind of learned my lesson, and it hasn't been an issue since. But I also learned my lesson to make sure to put these lock pins in, because if you had your hands in there and that puppy came down, believe me, it would be a bad day. So those are locked, and that's basically how it works, sliding up and down. What I'll show you here, this is some plastic that I have that I'm gonna actually do a a draw just so you can kind of see what it looks like. Over here as well, I have this is a little fuselage off of a plane that I made before with my original vacuum forming setup, and it actually works pretty good. So I thought, what the heck, that'll be a good example. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to set that aside. I'll show you how it's loaded. To load the machine, I just simply put a couple of scrap pieces of wood in there, and then I drop it down like so. Now these are window locks, sash locks that I got from the Salvation Army. I paid $1 a piece for them. Keeping my eye out, I'm going to get some more if I can spot some, because they work really nice. So that unlocks the lower half. And safety first. Take my plastic, which is really dusty from being in the shop. My garage is nowhere near big enough for all the tools and junk I have in it, but you do what you gotta do, I guess. So that goes in there, just like so. Back down with the frame. Make sure everything's lined up okay. And I lock my locks. And I got this is just a little bit out of alignment. There we go. Everything's lined up, locked in place. Pull my wood out, and this is my chance to make sure the platen hasn't moved, and it hasn't. So plastic goes back up. At this point, I'm going to turn my vacuum pump on, because it takes a good 10 minutes to get up to vacuum, maybe a little longer. Alright, and I would also at this point turn on my 3 heaters, but I'm going to hold off on that just so that I can, you know, show you how everything works. At this point I would be heating the plastic and drawing the vacuum, but it's, you know, with all that going on, I wouldn't have an opportunity to kind of show you how it operates. So what I want to do is just line my buck on the pennies right on the platen, just like that. I'm going to let that pump up. Here we can kind of see what I'm attempting to form. Alright, this here is my vacuum gauge. As you can see right now, I'm up to about 15 inches of mercury already. I usually let it get up to about 25. It'll go up to maybe 28 if I really let it go for, you know, get to the max, but 25 is usually where I stop. This is my vacuum valve. I just turn that. That opens up the valve, allows the vacuum into the platen. And these 3 switches here are my heater. This is the vacuum pump, and this one turns the light on that's up above. So there's basically it for the controls. There you can see with the light on. I'll turn the light off. As you can see here, there's the plastic is in the center and the sides are open. So because of that, I just put in just a piece of hardboard that I've got just to kind of plug that space so that I don't waste all that heat. It heats faster that way. So I will do that here in a second. As you can see, these have been toasted a little bit from using them. It's just 1/8 inch hardboard. I'm actually going to scrounge up some aluminum when I find some, and replace this with aluminum, just because hardboard is not fireproof. It is kind of heat resistant, but as you can see, it's gotten kind of toasty. I would never leave this heater on without me being in the room anyways, because I feel like this whole thing is kind of a fire hazard, electrical hazard, even though I have wired it up to be as safe as I know how. I still would never trust any of this to be left plugged in and, you know, not be right here paying attention to it. And so I just put those pieces in. Everything is pretty much set. Had I been heating this now, I would still have a minute or two to go, probably longer than that, to get it up to temp, but I want to show you what the plastic looks like when it's being heated. So I just got the spacers, or whatever you want to call those pieces, in place. I'm going to shut my pump off now, and I'm going to turn my heat on, and hopefully everything goes as planned, and you'll be able to see me do a vacuum draw. The coils are on, and it's going to be really tough to kind of see this, I think. But as you can maybe see, you can see that the plastic is starting to get all those kind of wrinkly surface in there. I'm going to kind of see if I can show you a little bit of this. If you see, you can see those red hot bars. That's the heating elements from the little countertop barbecues. And as you can see, the plastic is starting to get all these wrinkles. That's actually, from what I've read, is the stress. You know, when the plastic is formed, it gets some stress in it, and so as it's heated, the stress causes different wrinkles. What will usually happen, depending on what type of plastic you're using, those wrinkles kind of form, and then it tightens up, and then it begins to sag again, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking to get, you know, probably an inch or two, maybe 3 inches of sag, depending on how tall the thing is that you're trying to vacuum form, how tall your buck is. But as you can see, those wrinkles are there, and eventually I'm gonna pause this, and then I'll show you again once it's heated, because it does take a little while. In the meantime, while that's heating, you can see right now, I don't know if it's blurry or not, but it looks like about 26 inches of vacuum in there, 26 inches of mercury. Valve is closed, buck's in place. I don't know, we'll just let it kind of heat here. Okay, I see a problem that I don't normally get. If you can see right on the edge there, the plastic's actually coming out of the frame. I've actually never had that happen before, so I'm going to go ahead and draw it, but I don't know that it's going to work right. Otherwise, you can see the sag in the plastic. It's just about sagged where I want it. It could, you know, if that wasn't messing up like that, you can see that I don't think it's gonna seal. So, but since the plastic is pretty much shot, I will just see what it does. Okay, so heat's off, and the pins are out. And down comes the platen, and on goes the vacuum. Actually, even though it leaked, it still did a pretty good draw. And that's what I was hoping for, actually. So, you can kind of see it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, maybe make a better view. So that's that.